Support for Backpage has been provided by Kohopono Multimedia Publishing, on the web at kohopono.com.
Hello and welcome again to Backpage. I'm Jody C. and today we're visiting with Constance Crooker, we call her Connie, about her book, Melanoma Mama, and you can guess what that's about. So welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Tell me the series of events that happened that led up to the writing of this book for you.
I have stage 4 melanoma. Stage 4 is the last stage. There is no stage 5. That's the other side of the grass.
So that means it's metastasized to other parts.
It's gone all over the place. I've had it 23 years, starting with a mole on my back that was removed, and then I had no further treatment back in 1990. 5 years ago, I began to get anemia, and they couldn't figure out why. And when they finally ran a CAT scan and they discovered that I had a grapefruit-sized tumor in my abdomen and a 9-centimeter mass in my chest, they could remove the tumor surgically here, but this tumor was treated with immunotherapy, which is not exactly chemotherapy. It's designed to boost your immune system. And I had immunotherapy and radiation combined. And that kept the beast at bay for quite a while. And then a year ago, they discovered a brain tumor that was the size of a golf ball in my frontal area. And I have had 2 brain surgeries and a gamma knife radiation, which is targeted radiation to that area in the last year, and plus another form of immunotherapy.
And so this book, Melanoma Mama, it says on life, death, and tent camping.
Yes.
So you decided to do a cross-country tent camping trip.
That's right. After the 5 years ago, I was this close to having a very serious chat with the Grim Reaper, and they didn't expect much in the way of a cure from these treatments. They were just trying to give me palliative care to make me feel better as I died. And then all of a sudden, I turned a corner and I was doing well, and I thought, well, I'm going to go have some fun. I'm alive. So I took a cross-country tent camping trip solo and saw national parks and had lots of adventures. So the book is as much about the fun and the adventures that I have to pack joy into the spaces between all the medical madness.
Do you think that's what kept you alive? I mean, do you think that's what it is?
I think that whatever I do to help boost my own immune system must help, but I do not attribute my own activities to directly to my survival. I think the immunotherapy combined with radiation is really what's been successful for me, plus the surgeries. But I think that it certainly doesn't hurt to boost your own immune system to assist the immunotherapy treatments.
So how did you feel when you were going across the country? Were you sick during that time?
I was still pretty tired. There's a part of the book where I write where I get to Yellowstone and I just fall apart, and I can't get off the couch, and I can't eat anything but a dish of rice, and I had some tough times just pushing myself during the trip. But a lot of the trip I felt good. I enjoyed it. I'm pitching a tent every night, sleeping down on the ground on a air mattress, nice, comfortable air mattress. But it's camping. It's camping.
Yeah. So, you wound up in New Hampshire, isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay, and that's where your family
Right.
is from originally.
Yes.
So let's back up a bit. You were an attorney.
Right.
Okay, practicing what kind of law?
I did trial work. I mostly criminal defense with Spanish-speaking clients. I'm bilingual, and so that was my career. And I had retired 10 years before all of this medical stuff came up. So I'd been living a nice, happy, active retirement. Yeah.
And you said in the book that you were an old hippie.
Oh yeah.
You know, and in this picture on the cover here, you're in the graveyard, standing on a tombstone, holding a.
That's a Telecaster, for anybody who cares.
It's a Fender.
It's a Fender Telecaster. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. I mean, it's like, you know, ha ha ha, laughing in the face of death.
That's what I'm dancing on the tombstone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. So you went from having a mole removed on your back to finding out that you were really, really sick. Because melanoma is a beast. It's awful.
Yeah.
I mean, it can kill you quicker than you could say chemotherapy.
That's right.
You know.
That's right. Yeah.
So, you know, I was on a plane one time, a Southwest Airlines flight, and I was just reading the book, and this lady turned next to me and she goes, "You probably wonder why I'm so white." And I went, because I really didn't.
Right.
And her brother had died of melanoma the year before, and so she didn't ever go out in the sun at all. I mean, you know, she just avoided it completely, and she was kind of white once she brought it up, but really, it's not like I looked at her and went, "Oh," because I didn't. But anyway, it's a terrible and quick-acting form of cancer, so the fact that you've lived with it for 23 years is pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
You know?
It's incredible.
Yeah.
The doctors are scratching their heads wondering what they've done right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And whatever they did worked.
Yeah.
And whatever you're doing worked.
Right.
Now, did you change your diet or habits or anything once you found out you were sick?
No, I was already pretty fit and not. You know, I didn't have to consider changing very much of that. Yeah.
Did you lose your hair and all the things when you did chemo?
No.
It stayed.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, the immunotherapy is different than chemo. It boosts your immune system, and it has some horrible side effects, but not the same side effects that people with chemotherapy get.
Yeah.
And I write about the side effects from, one is called interleukin-2, and you have to be hospitalized to have that. It's so severe and so life-threatening, the treatment itself, that they have to monitor you and monitor your vital signs constantly. And then, in spite of all that, I ended up in the intensive care unit, which most people who get interleukin-2 treatments do at some point. They bring you to death's door and then bring you to the recovery room, and it's harsh. The second form of immunotherapy that I had is called ipilimumab, also called Yervoy, and that's newer, and that you have outpatient, and you just go into an infusion room at the hospital and they drip it into you for several hours, and that I had 4 rounds of Yervoy, and I did not have bad reactions to that. You can have bad reactions, but I didn't.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was pretty lucky.
Yes.
And so this went, I mean, in this 23-year span, did you have something major go wrong every year that you had to handle, or were there years where you were just kind of coasting along doing okay?
Oh, most of it was totally clear. When they removed that mole, they did a thing called a wide excision, where they removed more skin around it to analyze to see if there were cancer cells in there. Didn't find any, so I didn't even have any treatment originally. They just removed the mole and then watched me with blood tests and x-rays, chest x-rays, but I didn't have any scans, PET scans or CAT scans. And then everybody forgot about it because 18 years had gone by. So when I got sick with anemia, nobody thought to look for a recurrence of the melanoma. It had been so long. Yeah, everybody thought I was out of the woods.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, they probably thought, you know, she'll get hit by a bus leaving the cancer center. You know, I mean, if you're just tuning in, I'm visiting with Constance Crooker about her book, Melanoma Mama, on life, death, and tent camping. So you wrote, how long did it take you to write your book?
It was a number of months. It wasn't. I wrote it pretty fast, getting it in print took longer than writing the thing. Yeah.
And you know, I've found that with publishing, everything takes longer than you think it's going to.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just everything. But so, what was the process after you got it written? Did you self-publish it, or did you find a publisher for it, or?
It's called indie publishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a facilitator to walk me through that. It's a form of self-publishing where I am the publisher.
Yeah.
It's not hiring another publishing company to do it for you.
Yeah.
And so it was work because most of the work around that came up right a year ago when I was having the brain surgery. And I had just come out of brain surgery and the book was ready to go to print. And I had to make all kinds of decisions and be emails and phone calls and constant work going back and forth with my facilitator to get the book into print right after the brain surgery.
So how long did it take you to recover from? You told me that they took part of your skull off and put it in a tray for 4 hours.
Yes. Yeah, they removed like a quarter of my skull and lifted it off. It sits in a basket beside me for 4 hours during brain surgery. Twice. I had 2 of those brain surgeries in this year. So I am not fully recovered yet. That's a big hole.
Did they take off the same section, or just leave it sort of perforated, or with a hinge?
They had, well, they patch it together with titanium borehole covers, and they take all those out and then take the same thing off and patch it all back together again.
Isn't it astonishing, though, really?
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff that they can do.
Yeah.
You know, I think I told you
It's
I was
incredible.
surprised they didn't just have me hang my head out the window, and you know, when they did mine.
Yeah.
It was just because it all happened so quickly, you know.
Right.
Just go in, do the surgery, spend the night in ICU, and out the door the next day.
Yeah.
I didn't even have time to make friends.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, mine was major surgery, and they kicked me out 2 days after each surgery, and I had to figure out how to take care of myself. My sister took care of me for the first while, and then I was on my own. Yeah.
So what's the distribution process been like for you, getting your book out into the world?
It's been interesting, I'll put it that way. I have not had the energy to do all of the things that I had hoped I was going to be able to do, but it's out in the world as an ebook. You know, you can go to Amazon.com and find it. You can go to my website, MelanomaMama.com, and get it that way. Or if bookstores can order it, but most of them don't carry it. You can just ask for it. Yeah.
So what was the purpose for you in writing this story? What was it?
I wanted to tell the story of how you can find joy in the crevices of the most miserable experiences in life. And I think that at first I wasn't going to write the book because I was so sick and I thought I was going to die right away, and I didn't have time. And then when I found out that I had some time, and that I had a lot of joy and a lot of happiness that I wanted to share, I just felt like it's such an important stage of our lives now. A lot of the baby boomers were all reaching the stage where something's going to clobber us. And how we walk through that is a learning process. And I feel like, you know, I hate being the first kid on my block to go through it, but I am. And so I just wanted to share some of my experience because I have had a pretty good quality life throughout all this horror show. Yeah.
For the past 23 years.
Yeah.
Is there something that, like, is there a surgery or a recurrence or something that you've had to wrestle with almost every year? or do you go long periods of time before something happens?
Well, I went that 18 years between when they removed the mole and when they discovered that it had metastasized. So that was totally, I didn't even carry the idea in my head that I had cancer during that time. I thought I didn't. I thought it was gone. And so it's been the last 5 years that I'm acutely aware every day, all day long, that I have a disease that could jump out at any minute and kill me within days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm astonished that you can live so joyfully with that. It's like waiting to be overtaken by something in a way. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
how do you maintain that positive outlook and feeling of joy, and weave that into the feeling of about to be ambushed by something big and mean?
I learned to hold both thoughts at the same time.
Okay.
I know, I'm very aware, like I was skiing this week. I downhill ski, and I'm skiing earlier than the neurosurgeon allowed me to, but I wear a helmet. And I was having a wonderful, wonderful run, and I was thinking, this is the most glorious run I have ever had on this particular slope. I am as happy as I can be, and I may never ever see this run again because I might die before next ski season. This may be my last time to savor this run. And so I hold both thoughts together and allow myself to feel it all. And I was crying while I was skiing that run because it was beautiful, but I stay aware of all of it.
Are there any things that you haven't done that you wish you had done?
My bucket list?
Yeah.
You know, right now I'm in a kind of a holding pattern because I'm still recovering from all the brain surgeries. And so I'm not as up and at 'em and ready to go out and do a lot of things as I normally am. But that will come. There will be, I'll get a bright idea that I need to run halfway around the world and see something or other that I haven't yet seen, and that's my nature. That will happen. Yeah.
Have you got a particular passage out of the book that you'd like to read, that you'd like to share with us?
I think that I would like to share, since you mentioned that I was a hippie, a time when I was in the hospital recovering from, just having had the surgery on my abdomen, and I have a giant scar here. It was major surgery. I was barely able to walk around, and I held a teddy bear to my stomach because of the, and I decided to dance while I was in the hospital. And so I'd like to read that if I can find that right away. So this is right after the bowel surgery. I'm in my Johnny. I'm hooked up to the wires coming into me from the, well, I call it my pain pole, the metal pole. One day in the hospital, I danced. I had a CD player and I put on Jimi Hendrix. I closed the door to my room and cranked up the volume. I stood in my hospital Johnny and swayed side to side, barely shuffling my feet as the strong refrain from Fire rocked me. I know how to play that song. I used to perform it on my Fender Stratocaster, screeching feedback and all. I played air guitar while I danced, careful not to get tangled in all the tubes coming into me from my pain pole. I was transported, not to my own performances, but to the Monterey Pops Festival in the summer of 1967, the famous Summer of Love. I was there when Jimmy lit his guitar on fire. As I swayed side to side in my hospital room, I let all the light and energy and brilliance of that transformative summer pour into me. I was dancing with the colorfully clad crowds at free rock concerts in Golden Gate Park. I was sleeping in the back of a beat-up station wagon with Rusty. I was on Cannery Row in a dockside dive, crashing with hippies I'd met on the street. I was clad in velvet and denim, rhinestones and paisley, dancing at the Fillmore and the Avalon. In the hospital, I danced for my life. As I danced, poignant memories tumbled one on top of the other. I have lived hard and well. I have lived in a teepee and an Airstream trailer and a one-room cabin in the woods. I have passed a joint to Jerry Garcia.
How many people can say that? I mean, really?
A lot. Hundreds.
That's probably true. Jerry probably wasn't
right.
picky.
He didn't turn down joints. He once sang to me, "Somebody dance with the lady with the skinny legs." I always danced. I danced while Janis Joplin screamed out her soul. I danced while the Who's smashed their guitars. I danced while my friend John sat by the entrance to the Monterey Pops Festival, passing out free LSD. This is my life, and I am celebrating it here and now in this hospital with Jimmy cranked to the max. Jimmy is gone now. He didn't make it much past Woodstock. Janis died too back in the 70s. I don't know about Jimmy's overdose, but I know a guy who got heroin from the same batch as Janis's. It was too pure and he overdosed, but he lived to tell about it. She didn't. Jimmy and Janis and Jerry injected me with enough joy and energy to carry me through the years, but they all died. I'm alive. I got to live a whole rich law career, to immerse myself in the Spanish-speaking world and play screeching guitar and dance, dance, dance. I've lived a long and joyous life. I'm so glad to be here alive in my hospital gown dancing while Jimmy plays fire.
That's great. I liked it that you were so forthcoming in the book, you know?
Thank you.
Not holding back. And that's always good. You know, when you read a passage, you go, whoa, that's pretty brave, you know? I mean, and sometimes you'll read a memoir and they'll give you more information than you really wanted to know. But this didn't do that. This was right up to the edge of it, but it was just enough where you still think it's a courageous thing to do, rather than, oh, I could have gone all day without knowing that. You know, I mean, that's that's the way I felt with some memoirs from time to time, but yours didn't. Yours was right up to the edge of too much, but it stayed brave. It stayed courageous, and that's a good thing. You know,
Thank you.
That's a good
Thank
thing.
you.
I mean, it's not every book that you can write and say I passed a joint to Jerry Garcia.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you know.
Yeah.
So, when I worked in rock and roll radio in Dallas in the 70s, and we would hear through the grapevine, you know, from the record guys, who was probably going to go. So we all knew Janis was going to go. We all knew Jimi Hendrix was going to go. We all knew Jim Morrison was going to go.
Yeah.
And whoever else. We all thought Jerry Jeff Walker would fall out of the back of a truck and get run over on the highway, when in fact he did fall out of the back of a truck, but he just got hit by another truck and broke his leg. So, and then he sobered up, you know. He married someone who wouldn't put up with his own particular brand of baloney. But all of that stuff that you did in California, it's all interesting, especially for people who had kind of a hippie lifestyle, you know. They can read that and go, oh, well, I was there, you know, or I was at Woodstock, or I was at the Monterey Festival.
Yeah.
So, and so tell me about the guitar playing. Did you have a band?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I started that a little later in life. I was already almost through law school when a friend started teaching me guitar, and I just took to it right away, and ended up in a rather just a bizarre band called Central Nervous System that was sort of new wave punkish kind of thing, and we wrote our own songs, and it was pretty rollicking, and we had a physics professor from Reed College and me being I was an attorney at the time, and we had a couple of people in the band that I won't say their names because they're kind of embarrassed that they started out in central nervous system, but they're well-known jazz musicians now. So we collected some interesting people together and had a wild old time, and it was the world's most fun garage band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you could have had a couple of attorneys playing guitar together and call it a paralegal.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Anyway, that's just me.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're just tuning in, I'm Jody C. and this program is Back Page, and we're talking with Constance Crooker about her book, Melanoma Mama, on life, death, and tent camping. She's a cancer survivor, still surviving. And where can people get this book if they're interested in getting this book?
Amazon.com, my website, melanomamama.com. That's M-A-M-A. And you can order it through bookstores. They'll find it for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you told me earlier that you were in a cancer support group.
Yes.
What's that like?
It's absolutely crucial. It's one thing that I do regularly every week. We meet, and I've been going for 5 years, and it's all women, and we all have late-stage cancer. And so it is a very...
Was that the criteria for this
Yes,
particular group?
it's the criteria for this particular group. So it's a very straightforward group of women who talk about very real life and death issues. And a lot of times we're having a great old time. We laugh a lot, but we cry, and we have little ceremonies when one of us dies. We call it the candle passing, and we have a little, ceremony. And we visit each other's deathbeds and just comfort each other through the process. And it's quite an amazing group of women who help teach each other how to walk through this.
Yeah. How many in the group?
It varies. We usually have between 8 and 14 or 15 around the table every week.
And you had the same meeting place, or do you rotate it?
It's run by it's free, run by Providence, and it meets at St. Vincent's weekly, and with professional facilitators, and it's very professionally done, very, very well run, and it's open to patients who are outside of the Providence system also, women with late stage cancer.
So what's on the plate for you now?
My next book.
Yay.
Yeah.
See, that'll keep you alive.
Yeah.
What's the next book about?
The next book is about a dream come true trip to Italy that I got to take when I thought I wouldn't have time for that. And I got to study Italian in Florence and in Lucca, and live in homes with families, and go to language school over there. So it's a combination. It's like Melanoma Mama. It's a travelogue with memories woven in about the medical treatments. Yeah.
Wow. Well, listen, they're giving me the high sign, so we're going to have to saddle up and ride on out of here. But thank you for being with us.
Yeah.
We've been visiting with Constance Crooker about her book, Melanoma Mama. I'm Jody C. This is Back Page. Join us again next time as we take another peek at the back page. And remember, we're all in this together. More the same than different. Do your best. Thanks.
Support for Backpage has been provided by Kohopono Multimedia Publishing, on the web at kohopono.com.